and welcome to Ask the Producer 21. I'm your host, Tyjon Tom, and we have a special guest today. Award-winning visual artist Keisha Stovall turned wedding photographer into a national hustle, earning 3 Best of the Knot Award, landing features in Vogue for corporate campaigns with Delta Airlines to working alongside Robert Townsend and Tyler Perry in film and television. She's built a brand that moves across industries with precision. Now, she's expanding her creative universe with The Space Between, a bold multimedia project spotlighting women of color in cosplay. Also, she's created her very first visual animated novel. Welcome, my friend and colleague, Keisha Stovall.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Good to see you. And I'm really excited about this. Ask the Producer is something that you've been working on for a bit, so I know a little bit behind the scenes, but it's amazing to see it kind of come to fruition. So happy to be
Thank you.
here.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know you're busy, so we have just a few minutes of your time, and we're going to get out some of these questions to help our viewers and help the audience understand what it really takes to build a brand over years of work and helping them understand that it's not just one thing that an artist can do to help mold and shape their brand. So we're going to get into some questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Wonderful. Okay. So our first question kind of touches on when you first started in the industry.
Hmm.
You started in the industry as a photographer. So what did you actually do to separate yourself in building that kind of strategic packaging that you knew the knot would accept? And how did you make sure that you were different from everyone else that came aboard the knot? Because there's some fabulous photographers across the knot, and they've been fabulous photographers for years, but not many of them are winning really big awards like you
Yeah. Well, the big thing about that award, and there's a couple of parts to that question, is it was nominated and based off the nominations from the people that you worked with. So these were all former wedding clients that got a chance to vote for their favorite photographer. That particular award, Best of the Knot, was a regional award. So it's Best of the Knot, like in my area, whether it's the Southeast or if it's like Northwest or California, I think was its own thing. What happens there to get it is that you do amazing work. Like you said, there's amazing photographers all over every page of the knot or every page of any wedding uh, publication. But they're not all going to nominate their photographers. They're not going to nominate the people that they work with. That nomination is because of the connection you make with them and the work that is good, right? And also that you've established kind of a reputation. And
have.
one of the things that happened was I really worked on a good reputation. It didn't matter if the client was paying me a small amount or the client was paying me a large amount.
That's
They were going to
important.
get the oh, it's so important because that's going to really determine how people see you.
Hmm.
If you use people as like this stepping stone toward this goal, that's a financial goal, you've missed the mark as an artist, in my opinion.
Mm.
You should be looking at every opportunity to advance your craft, every
Okay.
opportunity to get better at what you do and treat people well. And I feel like that comes back around. As far as pricing, I did do one thing to kind of set myself apart, and that is a good way of bringing in the right people. I was transparent about my prices. So
Mm.
yeah, there were a lot of people. You go to their website and they'll say starting from, and they just give you a number, and then you have to go to their studio or you meet them, and then that's when they ask you a bunch of questions, and then that's when you get, oh, and this is how much it's going to cost. I never did that. I had people who could have paid me 3 times more, but I consistently on my website said, this is what the prices are for these services. If you want to add on,
Mhm.
this is what the price will be. And it never changed for people. And I think a lot of people coming to the site felt even better about that because they knew, well, if this is within my price range, or even if they could have asked for more, everybody would be treated the same. So
Mhm.
that was the thing that differentiated me and really got me successful fast in the industry because a
Okay.
lot of people weren't
Okay.
following that at the time.
A lot of people are very um, unclear about what it is that they do because they want to please the client. And
Yes.
I feel like if you are unclear about what you do, the client will also be unclear about what you do. And they will try to throw in different things that's really not your forte, your specialty. So that diminishes the quality of your work. If you stick to a certain way that you do your work, this is how I do it, and this is what gives me the best results for my brand, then your work goes a long way versus trying to do everything that the client thinks that they want,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
Yeah. Oh,
So
that is
yeah.
so important. I can't tell you how many people would come to me. They say, we love this person's photography, mind you, 3 times more than what I was charging. So that meant that they had a whole team. They had a team, uh,
Mhm,
you know what I'm saying? So their results are going to be
mhm.
different, how they do things, their timeline, completely different. And they asked me, can you do this? And I could say, I can, but that's not what I specialize in. What you see is what you're going to get primarily. I will
That's important.
Oh, it's so important because
That's
what they're
important.
doing is they're trying to get a style that somebody has generated and branded, and there's a price point that's way beyond what they want. They see I'm a competent photographer, but they want to see if they can get it at a lower price. And
Okay, so let's pivot into brand. Let's
yes,
pivot into just that, just what you
yes,
said.
yes.
So, working with brands like Delta and Goodwill, which of these clients like really gave you the idea that your brand was supposed to target like another level? Like, how did you uh, identify this is how I want my brand to work inside of these large companies? Because when you're dealing with these large companies, they have their own thing, but your thing could also become their thing, but on a larger scale because they like the way you do your work. Now, explain to us how that type of partnership came about.
Honestly, again, I got to go back to reputation. I had worked for somebody who worked for Delta in a different capacity. This came up
Okay.
as an opportunity, and then they vetted my work and they said, "Hey, would you like to, do this? Can you do this?" And it was an event that I covered year after year after year. I was their
Mm,
photographer, and so what ends up happening there is that they already knew, or that is, I had an advocate in a former client. Again, I'm going to probably go back to this a lot because a lot of what you will create has been because of bridges that you already established earlier in your
okay.
career. And
Okay.
everybody does something different. Everybody knows somebody different. And a lot of times, those are the people who open the door. But see, your work has already spoken for itself, your character has already spoken for itself. So
Right.
you don't have to
Exactly.
worry about that. What you have to concentrate on is doing the work in front of you, and then always being curious about additional work. And I can talk to that later. I'm sure you're going to ask me something. We'll get back around to this, but I think it's
Okay.
important. I think it's important to know is that anytime you get a big door that's open for you, the most important thing is to step through it without fear and already know that you've been vetted for that door.
Okay.
So, what does being on a larger platform do? It allows you to see, number one, that most of the people who are there, they're either you're just as good as them, or you're probably better than them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it reduces
Yeah.
some of that fear. You don't have to go in
Mm-hmm.
with fear. The second
Mm-hmm.
thing too is that you realize that there are different opportunities for someone to pay for your ability to do your craft. And
Okay.
sometimes, unless you step through those doors, you don't even know all the places or what the process looks like, because there was a whole different system of payment that went with working with those big brands, the way that they do invoicing. Anybody who's worked with any brands like that, they will understand that. Also,
Mhm.
depending on what you've been doing with your taxes, like that might be something that you have to look at as well, because there are a lot of people who don't, they will start in this business, particularly in photography, and they don't elevate to certain status in even how they organize their business. And it will make you
Mhm.
organize your business that way really quickly because you have to.
Because that part of it is definitely something that's looked at when you're trying to expand into other aspects. You want people to be able to see what do your books actually look like, and how are you going to keep this this level of professionalism up. If you're not professional in that space, then you probably won't be able to handle, what we have, what we're trying to build with you right now. And speaking of that, larger spaces, larger stages. Let's talk about your work with Robert Townsend and Tyler Perry, and how those things came about, and how that molded you into understanding the level of professionalism that you have to keep in this business.
Okay, so gosh, I got to clarify. So I didn't work with Tyler Perry. I worked on the same stage as Tyler Perry.
Okay,
Playhouse 21 was Robert Townsend's first entree into like film and television here in Atlanta.
okay,
He
big name.
basically, yeah, but even better, he didn't come in just like a CEO who was like over, I believe that was a Black Family Channel, I think at the time. He came in like a teacher. I learned
Mm,
so much from just listening to his stories. He was incredible. I only got a chance to talk to him a couple times because my cohort at the time, who were kind of competing to be on his television show, because it was set
okay,
up like a competition,
okay,
they it was huge. It was like somebody giving a lecture at a college. And then you got a chance to work with him on set and learn certain roles on TV sets. But what I learned from him about starting from zero, about taste, about how to analyze a work of art, that's visual. It was probably one of the best mentoring experiences I had in my life. Now, the actual 21 Playhouse 21, excuse me, that was, we all had to write and basically produce a scene from a show. And everybody did their scene. And what would
okay,
happen is the best scenes would go on to be aired. And we were working with people who, some of them had written their scenes, or rather it was a scene from a play or a movie that they had done years ago. So it was very
okay.
well crafted. Others like myself, I had a week to get it together.
That's not a lot of time.
That's not a lot of time.
Especially not in this industry. That's not a lot of time at all. That's like a light blink.
Oh my gosh. And you know what? That I think too, that's kind of like with the advent of like AI, where people are kind of creating, and I'm not saying it's great work, but work so quickly.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
was also a really good way to fine tune your writing abilities and your book abilities as a director, because it pushed you past what is comfortable. Usually, somebody who's like writing something and they don't have a production set up, they're writing for themselves, they're writing for their craft, they're not pressed for time. But in that particular case, we were really pressed for time and we really wanted to be there. I wanted to be there through all the rounds as long as possible, because
It
I
made you
want
stay on your toes.
it made me stay on my toes, but more than anything, I was learning from the people around me, and I think that's really important. And, like Tyler Perry came in and did a scene from one of his, really. This is when he was just doing plays, and he was
Plays.
selling the DVDs, and everybody there knew who he was. But oddly enough, Robert Townsend didn't know who he was, and he did something from Medea. And I remember what the comment was. I'm gonna keep that to myself. But we were really shocked because he didn't know who he was, right? He was like, "Why is this guy kind of dressed like?" And we were just kind of like, "Oh, if you only knew," because we knew he was blowing up at the time. And then shortly after, he was starting to do his films. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of blowing up, Tell us a little bit about Beyond the Pole.
Well, thank goodness I didn't have to be on the pole. I didn't have to be beyond the pole. But one of my last credits was beyond the
Oh,
pole. It was, and I was basically the photographer for the set. So I was doing all the stuff for the um, behind the scenes photography. I was
okay,
also
okay.
doing a little beyond behind the scenes, like reaction videos. Like it was a for those who don't know, Beyond the Pole was about uh, exotic dancers here in Atlanta. And that's
Taboo.
yeah, dancers in Atlanta are famous internationally, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So basically, I got a chance to work on that set. I got called in again. A friend of a friend cannot begin to express to you how having a good reputation and building bridges with people behind the scenes
This
will get you
goes
your
back to
next
that
gig.
reputation thing. And y'all listening? This goes back to that reputation. Good
Yeah,
reputation.
yeah. Don't let stepping on people to get to the next rung of the ladder be your reputation. Don't let that.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
you might
Oh,
get up high, but you will fall low and fast. Do you hear what I'm saying? Don't do that. But it was another friend of a friend who said, "Hey, they need this photographer on the set." In fact, I do remember who it was. So I was working out of a studio, and basically it was open studio. You just set your time, you pay, you book the time, and he was one of the producers on the show, and he asked me. He said, "Hey, they got a gig over here. Do you want to come?" I was like, "Yes, absolutely." So I'd been set television, like still photographer on other sets, in particular Real Housewives of Atlanta. Had done that
hmm
prior, and that was through another friend in the industry. And so this was the last time that I did it. Beyond the Pole was interesting because the ladies were either dancing and wanted to move out of that, or they had
Okay.
already become their own entrepreneurs, move from that life to the entrepreneurial life. And basically it was just like a real like reality TV
Transition type of
situation.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was the first time I'd ever been to Magic City. And that was, I never went there socially. I went there
That was
to
an
shoot.
experience. So,
Yeah, and that's where I met Shantae Page, who was a
okay.
showrunner. She's amazing. If you get a chance, look her up. Shantae Page she's a movement production.
She's
If I'm
dynamic.
very dynamic, and okay, this is me. This is my own personal thing. I know I've done well with photography when people use it in other areas. I did set photography, and I remember I was shooting from across the room. She was by the monitor. She was looking like a boss, like a total boss. And I took that picture. That is her IMDb picture. I love that.
Nice.
you know, I love
Yeah,
that. That's
I
really
the IMDb picture is part of your brand, so it's very important in this industry. People look you up and they're like, "Oh, she looks amazing. She looks like she knows what she's doing." But
yes.
Keisha, we are going to wrap it up a little bit. So we want to
Yeah.
know, where can we find you? Where can we find your work? How can the viewers out there get in contact with you when they need you to be on set to make them look good, make their talent look good, and so on and so forth? Tell the brands out there where they can find you.
Yeah. So basically Keisha Stovall photography. If you just Google that, you'll get to my Smug Mug page. That is my
Okay.
gallery site so that you can kind of see like the latest that I've got going on. It gives you a really good taste of the kind of, like images that I have. Like just you get to see my work. But Keisha Kecia, just like on here, and Stovall, as in Sam, T as in Tom, O, V as in Victor, ALL, two L's.
We're going to
Um,
put all that in the link of this podcast
awesome.
so everybody can find you.